Not everyone wants to belong. Some people watch the crowd move in one direction and feel an instinct, a pull in the opposite way. They don't hate society, they just can't pretend anymore. Alan Watts once said, "You are under no obligation to be the person the world expects." Those who don't follow trends aren't rebels, they're realists. They've seen the illusion of mass approval and decided not to sell their soul for it, because they've noticed something. The world doesn't celebrate truth, it markets imitation. Trends are just distractions dressed as discovery, noise pretending to be relevance, and the ones who refuse to play. They're not lost, they're simply awake, and that's what makes the system uneasy. Trends exist because people are terrified of being invisible. They'd rather be copies that are seen than originals that are ignored. Alan Watts said society has confused attention with existence. People no longer live, they perform. They no longer feel, they display. The ones who don't follow trends understand this tragedy. They've seen how easily identity becomes marketing, how quickly authenticity turns into algorithm. So they step back, not out of pride, but out of preservation. They choose depth over exposure, meaning over momentum. They'd rather be forgotten for who they are than remembered for who they pretended to be, because they know the applause of the crowd is the loudest form of loneliness. It takes courage to be unseen in a world addicted to visibility, to walk quietly while everyone else is shouting for recognition. But Alan Watts understood, the moment you stop chasing validation, you start finding peace. The ones who don't follow trends live differently. They read old books, listen to silence, build slowly. They don't post their every thought because they know truth doesn't need announcement. They don't compete for relevance because relevance is temporary, but presence is eternal. The courage to be unseen is the art of remembering that your worth existed long before anyone could like it. You don't need to be visible to be real. You just need to be whole. Modern life worships movement, but the wisest souls have always known that motion without direction is chaos. Those who step outside the current aren't lazy, they're lucid. They've learned that stillness isn't stagnation, it's strategy. Alan Watts said the universe itself moves in silence. Trees grow quietly, stars burn without noise. So why should wisdom need to shout? The ones who don't follow trends are tuned to a slower frequency. They sense before they act, they listen before they speak, they observe before they join, and in that stillness, they begin to see how most people move not because they're inspired, but because they were afraid to stand still. True intelligence isn't fast. It's patient. It waits until noise reveals its emptiness. When you stop following trends, you stop running someone else's race. Competition dies the moment you realize there was never a finish line, only distraction. Alan Watts said, the tragedy of modern man is that he's always chasing what he already has. Success, beauty, status. They're illusions designed to keep you moving, but never arriving. The ones who don't follow trends walk differently. They don't sprint, they wander. They don't compare, they create. They've learned that stillness achieves what striving never can, clarity. Because the real victory isn't being ahead, it's being aligned. When you stop competing, you start connecting with yourself, with time, with truth. And in that connection you realize The game was never about winning. It was about waking up. There's a kind of beauty that doesn't trend. It's not filtered, polished, or marketed. It just is. That's the beauty of authenticity. The quiet confidence of someone who doesn't need to decorate their depth. Alan Watts said the most beautiful thing about a flower is that it doesn't try to bloom. It just blooms. The same is true for people who stop performing. They speak when there's truth to say. They move when there's purpose to move. They live without the audience, and that's why their presence feels different. It's not trying to sell you anything. Authenticity isn't glamorous, it's graceful. It's the kind of beauty that whispers and somehow echoes louder than the crowd. Because real elegance isn't in presentation, it's in peace. The irony is this: those who reject trends often become the ones who create them. Not by trying, but by being. Because authenticity radiates, stillness has gravity, and the world, though addicted to noise, can't help but turn toward quiet truth. Alan Watts said, "When you stop trying to be someone, you become yourself." And that's when the world finally notices. The ones who live authentically don't chase influence, they embody it. They don't shout to be heard. Their calmness commands attention. That's the paradox. The more you detach from the need to be relevant, the more relevant you become. Not because you fit in, but because you remind others of the freedom they've forgotten. At some point, the noise fades. The urgency dissolves. The crowd keeps running and you simply walk home. You realize that all along you weren't rejecting the world. You were returning to yourself. Alan Watts wrote that enlightenment isn't about becoming more, but remembering what you were before the noise. So you start to live slower, laugh softer, want less, and somehow everything feels fuller. You stop following, stop proving, stop pretending. You finally understood that being different isn't rebellion. It's remembrance. Because when you no longer need to be like anyone else, you finally become someone real. And in a world obsessed with imitation, that is the rarest trend of all.